Welcome to another episode of It's Okay with Tam Tam. And we have our special guest host again with us tonight, Ronnie. You look beautiful as ever.
Thank you. Rocking that live, honey.
So logistics, let's get the logistics out of the way. First, I want to say please follow us on It's Okay with Tam Tam on Facebook, as well as our YouTube channel, It's Okay with Tam Tam. And also, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, so last time when we had people come in and watch, we had people put on what state they were watching from. So we actually had somebody from the UK. Whoop, whoop. So hopefully they will be watching us again. So tonight we're talking about single moms getting married. So you and I both have experience with this.
Yes.
Being single, we both have the same kind of past. We both were married, had kids, a kid or children, got a divorce, and then eventually got remarried. So we want people, one, again, to come in and tell us where you're from, and then kind of tell us some of the stuff that you may or may not be going through with this. So when you got a divorce, you have two sons. When you got a divorce, did you think that, I would say, going through the divorce, did you think that you would get married again?
No, I wasn't even thinking about that. I think I was just in survival mode. I was very numb. And I know it took about 3-4 years, and my brother and twin sister can attest that I used to be like, I'm never going to find a good man. They don't exist. Like, because I also self-sabotage, right? Like, hurt people that aren't healed. As people would say, I love dating kind of pound puppies. I loved projects, and those never fared well with me. And so, yeah, I never thought.
So what do you mean by you like to date projects?
So I used to, right, and then John came along, but I never realized, but I didn't date men of my caliber. And when I say that, and I didn't even know that existed until I was like talking to my friends, and they were like, "Why are you like dating people that your parents would have never allowed you to like talk to?" Right? Like, I mean, just examples, like they didn't have GEDs, high school diplomas, and nothing's wrong with that, but they also didn't have any income. They didn't have reliable jobs. They didn't have their own homes. They didn't have their own cars. Like when I tell you, I was like attracting, they tell you when you're hurt, you attract, you really do attract like these lost souls, people that see that you're vulnerable, they see that you want to love, and they'll take it like a leech, and they'll attach to you until you have nothing more to give, and then you're back to square one. So that's
So
what
do you think that's common? Because I was like that to some point. Like when I got a divorce, like I was like you, I was not thinking about getting remarried at the time. I was like, I got a little girl. I was like, I got to get myself together. And I do remember, like you say, attracting the projects. The reason I asked you that was because I wanted to see if it was kind of like the same thing I was going through, where they're like projects. They're like somebody like you gotta, like they don't have their crap together, and you gotta lift them up, and like you're trying to help them get better. And it's like, look, I'm my own project. Like I gotta get myself better. So that's the reason I act that. I think I wonder if that's like very common being as a single mom. It's like we do this already, so we just naturally, I don't know, continue on to do that instead of us getting that mate that can actually help you be
well,
a
I
better
thought
you.
too, you know, like going from like my ex-husband who you know, was very established, had a career, had a lot of things going for him, to go
Yes,
to, so in
yes,
my mind,
Valerie.
like going to someone who wasn't on that level, it was easy for me to fix them, right? Like you don't have, girl, they didn't have birth certificates. Like, oh, you don't have a birth certificate? I'm gonna order you one.
Look, I'm
Like
gonna
you
show you
don't
how to
have
get it.
driver's, but like that's easy. Like the stuff you're asking me takes nothing. Like I'll
Right.
even pay it for you. And so I think for someone to ask so little of me, um, and that I could provide that, I thought like that's nothing. And if I can provide those little things for them, they're gonna love me, right? If
I think
someone
that
of
was the
this
key. I
caliber,
think that's the key, that we're looking for the love. But Valerie also, that she said it was right. It was a project that distracts you from healing and rediscovering, because you do, once you kind of go through a marriage, you get a divorce, you do have to kind of rediscover yourself.
Mhm.
And so that does limit that.
Now, how
Um,
long did it take for you to rediscover yourself? Because that it's been
I'm
a
still I'm still that
journey.
that's still a process. I'm serious, like, because it's like, so when my daughter was 1, I got a divorce. By the time she was 1, we got a divorce. So we had a very short marriage. So I didn't get remarried until she was 12. And she
Mm,
knows me to date 2 people, the guy I'm married to now and another guy before him. Otherwise, most of the time I was single, and it was me just trying to take care of her and be an example of a strong Black woman. So, and within that, like my identity was being a mother. And so it's not even like to now, it's me going to counseling, still trying to figure out who I am, because all I know is being a mother.
mhm.
So Valerie, you gotta also put on there where you're from. That we like people to come on here and tell us what state you're in. And we had somebody from the UK once. So she said your inherited nature goes into fix it mode, thus deflecting the
Now that's a good
Valerie,
point
that is your
too.
word.
I didn't even start like even thinking that I could have a man of value or that I was even valuable to attractive man of quality. I mean, I couldn't, after my divorce, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I know people are like, "Gosh, I'm so shocking. You're so confident now," but I couldn't give my,
Chicago.
I couldn't give myself 5 compliments. I mean, I would shake and have anxiety attacks because in my mind, I didn't do anything right, like being married, right? So why would someone want this leftovers from someone? Like I was really, really lost. But again, and then that's what I tell people too when they're going through a divorce and you're really looking or praying for a mate to find you. And I told just to John, me and John have been friends for a really long time before we got married. And I had to do some serious growth with him, even at the detriment of him. And luckily, you know, he loved me through it. But with that, I even told him, you didn't want, Like there were some things that we had to grow through, but you didn't want the unhealed me, because the unhealed me was looking for a hit. Men were drugs to me. If they could show me attention and they could make me feel beautiful and on a high, that's what I wanted, because honestly, that's what I was lacking in my marriage, right? So to me, well, at least if I get that, I didn't get that in my marriage. So who needs to get remarried? I could just be out here single, not having to answer to nobody.
Mm, mm. I was not to your extent, but I lacked self-confidence of, I didn't feel like I would be valued. So you would see like the woman who had the man who was like the lawyer, and he came home and he brought her flowers and he showed her the love and affection. It was like, well, I would never get that. So I know that feeling that you had, especially after a marriage. I felt like a failure, and I was like, and I was like, I was mad at myself. I'm like, I'm a statistic, I'm a single mom. Like, you know, it's just, why did I let why did I end up making letting my life be like this? So I understand completely, because I was there, and it took me some years, and that's when I was listening to Mary J. Blige on Just Fine, that I got to the point where it's gonna be okay. Not that I found value or whatever, just I just got to the point where it's gonna be okay. But I still, like I say, I'm still working on me, and I am fortunate. I have a husband who is that person that that I saw on TV that would bring me flowers that I may like, or truly genuinely is trying to show that he loves me. And so it became something that was very important, because I saw my daughter growing up not seeing what love and affection was. And so I was like, I want that for her. And I don't want her where she's with somebody that she has to try to take care of them. So like with Michelle Obama, I saw it was a clip on TikTok, I don't know, some social media, Instagram, what I don't know, whatever. And so she was talking about women out there. She was like, and I think it kind of alludes to what we've been going through. And she's like, women, we have to find a mate that's a teammate and help. She said, when you're picking people that's going to play on your basketball team, you're not going to pick the person that's sitting on the bench and can't play basketball. You're going to pick the star player. So she said,
that's so true. But the thing that I have found hard, even to today, is when you're so used to having, like, think about that mentality of playing a sport. But if you're the best one, right? The most athletic one, the one that has held up the team. That's what we've been as single moms, right? We have been the one making it happen, making the scores. And so to be able to relinquish that control and allow me to tag him into my life, into my children's life, has been very, very, very hard. Because when you're single moms, you ain't got to like ask someone like, what do you think? How do you feel? Get their input. You just make it
or
happen.
even just to allow them to do it. That's me and my husband have had that argument several times. He's like, I'm here, I can help. Because I'm just like, I'll go do this. And he's like, just, I'm here, like, it's okay. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like you say, you're basically having to give up some of your control. So I think it's harder when you're single for a lot. I mean, I was single for 12 years or 11 years before I got remarried. So like you see, I've lived my life, a good chunk of my life, being a single mom.
Or
So
were you living, or were you just surviving?
I was surviving.
Yeah.
I was
And so
literally
now,
surviving.
to me, it's a renewed feeling, but it's kind of a scary feeling to finally like breathe, right? Because we're with
No, it
these.
is a very scary feeling.
Yeah.
And we've been married 6 years, and I can't say it's gotten a little better, but I still have that feeling. And I tell him all the time, I said, it's two things that's scary. One, that I've given up some of the control to him, and I'm trusting him. Like, who would ever thought? Like, when I was with my daughter, I went to back to school, got my master's degree, went back, got my doctorate degree, and I was working, making decent money, and now I'm not working. So you know what that means is like I've given up my financial control. And I'm like, so like when I was previously married, we struggled. So it's like, okay, I work 2-3 jobs, whatever. I'll do what I got to do. And it's like now, like I've given him the control because he makes all the money. And it's like, oh. And then the other thing that's scary is that I love him so much. I've never loved a person that way I love him. And it's like, it's scary. So I tell him all the time, you better not leave me. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I was like, you better not die either. So just.
So I am not the, I mean, John was, I am not the like, probably, I don't verbalize like, I love you. I want to be with you. And I want to miss you. And you're the most, and not that you do, but that I don't. But when I'm playing with him, I'm like, I will cut you if you leave me. No, but he knows I'm not a jealous person, right? Like I actually flourish when we're in situations where I feel like he's highlighted as a trophy, right? Like the unicorn husband, the rarity. Because all my friends are like, they'll ask him, John, can you hook us up with somebody? Because like you the last one. Like I need you to hook us up with a Mason brother or a Sigma brother. And he's like, I can't do that. They are not good. I'm not even about to try to do it.
Yeah. I am not affection. I'm not the one, you know me. I'm not the one to show feelings. I'm not, and my husband is very affectionate. And that was part of our conflict because he wants to hug and kiss me all the time. And it's like, look, now. But I've adjusted because that is something that he really needs. And that it wasn't easy. It took some time. So, hey, Miss Ebony, welcome back. So how did therapy help me? Therapy gave me a reality check. So the first day I saw the therapist, first of all, you got to find a therapist that you like because I went through a couple of therapists and it makes it very easy to say, I'm not going. So I finally found one that I liked. And the first thing she said, and during our first session, she said, either you slow down or you're going to kill yourself. That's what she said. So I was like, okay, I got to take this seriously. And so she's helping me work through stuff, and it's going to be logical thinking. Like my stuff was irrational. Like she would tell me stuff like I said, I have anxiety about finances. And it's because she said, it's because you've been in survival mode for all this time. And so she said, honestly, do you think that, she said, are you in a situation right now where you're struggling? I was like, no. And so she was like, well, how, she's helping me through it because she's like, well, I said, I have anxiety. And what happens is I have come to the realization, I'll get to the point where I'm like, I'll get anxiety and I'll go back to school and I'll start another degree on something totally. She's like, you just got to stop. She said, you got a doctorate degree. Like, there's nothing else for you to do. Like, just stop. Like, so I have like done, I was going back to school for accounting and bookkeeping. And she was like, well, so we're working on that. Brianna had the coldest therapist.
Man, listen, Ebony, okay? He is the truth, that man, and he's so hard to get into, y'all. I wish Dr. Dobbins, I wish everybody could have him as a counselor. He made me have to dig deep and really see myself in its rawest form, and to like tell me it's totally okay. Like, stand in your truth and don't waver because this is who you are. And I struggled with that, even with, your brother, because not that he was trying to change me, but I was scared it would change me, right? He was never trying to change me. I think it's scary for anybody to like unite, right? Especially me, 2 children. I have a very active co-parent in their father. And so for him to come in and I think have this idea of what he would be as a father and not fully have that like full kind of like control or when it came to decisions making, not that it was a struggle for him, but I think he had to reevaluate. I mean, I think he had struggling moments, but luckily, and I tell him, I'm like, that's why you were the one I was supposed to marry. I would have never ended up with someone who had a bigger ego and didn't realize that we were doing this for our family, like a blended whole, which isn't easy. It takes a lot of forgiving, takes really putting the children first, and it really takes boundaries and respect. And luckily, John came in and just owned it. And I don't know if it's because we were friends for so long or not, but luckily, he provided that for me. But yeah, even to this day, I still struggle. But I'm also very honest. Like I like sometimes scream. I mean, if you can imagine someone scream, "This is who I am! Like, love me or take me." And of course, he's gonna love me and take me. But I mean, I think also, like my therapist said, I don't know if we ever will get into a whole nother segment of fighting, arguing or discussing things in a relationship. But he said that's health. Our therapist said it's healthy. If you're not talking, that's when I'm very fearful of a relationship not being successful or working through things. But arguing, different levels, of course, but arguing is a healthy mechanism. It means that you're still fighting for your relationship.
I think that was one of the hard things for my husband, because I will emotionally shut down and I will withdraw from everything and everybody. And it's like I almost become robotic, where I just go, I'm going to work and I'm coming home. And I don't ever, like, I just won't talk about what I'm feeling. So that's one of the things the therapist is trying to eat away, because she's like, some of this stuff you got to talk about. And I was like, why? Like, I don't want to. So she's like, okay, well, we got to get there. And I was like, no.
Okay, when you say why you don't want to, is it because it feels uncomfortable, or is it because you're just
like why? I don't feel like dealing with my emotions. Like, I don't like that. I get to that point. Like, I just don't. And so, and it's like, it's crazy. We've had our conversation about me, and my friends, they kind of know, like, if they don't hear from me months and months, because that's just typical, they know it's just okay. And then they'll call and just say, hey, I'm just checking on you. And then and eventually we'll start talking back. We may talk, once a week or whatever. And then I might just shut off. And then, so my husband, he knows how to get me to talk, but he knows when to back up. I don't know how. He's the only one that can do that, can figure that out.
Now, how long did that take, though?
I mean, we've been married 6 years, so it wasn't like right away.
Okay. He said, yeah, okay, I don't trust someone I can't fight with. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yes. We fight. My husband always says, we the only two people. He said, you're the only woman I know that we can fight and agree at the same time.
John be like, we're fighting. And I'm like, we're not fighting. We're having heightened conversation. He's like, what's the difference? But I feel like there's levels to everything. Okay. I'm the gray. I dance in the gray. And to me, fighting is when I'm like cussing you out, gully, throwing off the hoops, and really like getting in your face and calling you everything out of God's names. And heightened conversations. And there's even levels to heightened conversations. There's some like I'm frustrated and I'm agitated. And then there's I'm on the verge of shutting down. But just because my voice heightens doesn't mean I'm angry at you. It's a very weird, gray everywhere. And John's just like, how am I supposed to know which level you're on? And I'm like, so we're trying to develop code words, right? Like pineapple or train or something, so he can know, because he writes notes. Like, I need to know how to
I need to know how to manage my wife's emotions, because I don't know.
Yeah.
So Tam, is that a trauma response? So apparently I have PTSD, so they tell me. So okay. I have had a few, not one, but I've had a few traumatic things have happened. Some in high school, college, after marriage. So I have some. We have talked about a couple. Some of them I haven't really talked about. So,
but I think what's so healthy and what I like seeing you. I mean, I know we are still relatively getting to know each other. We've only been in each other's lives for 3 years or something. When John finally brought me around, I mean, we were friends, but when we officially decided to be in a committed relationship, and I think that's such a healthy transformation to see you on, right? That you can finally recognize I did go through these things and I'm ready to talk about some, and others I'm not. Like, before, did you know that you had gone through those things, or did therapy help you realize that you went through those things?
I knew that I knew I had been through trauma. I didn't know I had PTSD. I didn't know it was well, I kind of alluded to that, because I have certain issues that I have. And so I told my husband, so he knows. But then once, medical professional seriously tells you, no, you have PTSD, it's like, okay, all right. And then I think, going through counseling and just seeing how I am, and then seeing this behavior reflecting in my daughter, like she's doing the same exact pattern. Although she doesn't have all of the traumas that I've gone through, she has a different trauma that she's dealing with. And so it's just seeing the same pattern, and it's like, crap, like I don't want this for her. And I think going through that, and then the counselor like putting a reality check, like this is what's going on, and this is what's affecting. And it's like, how do you expect your daughter not to be like this when that's how you are? And so it's half the stuff she tells me I just told my daughter like a day or two before. And so it's like I'm struggling trying to deal with it. I'm trying to be more um approachable and friendly, because I tell people, like, it's I don't call everybody my friend. Like I don't open up. I don't, like, I just don't want to. But it's not a healthy state, and I'm working on it. And
So
it does affect your marriage, and I'm blessed that I have someone who,
just
well,
patient,
it's
kind,
because he got
right,
PTSD.
honey?
He got PTSD too, so we helping each other with the same trauma. So
Code word. I'm telling you.
Valerie says, think another part of growth with facing reality of finding love after a failing marriage or relationship is letting go of the failure of your past partner. And in life, because I put a lot of stuff on me about, like, I'm a failure. So that kind of perpetuated. So the failed marriage and all the other stuff is like, okay, I'm just a failure. And reimagining and restructuring your new relationship with your new lens and fresh perspective. Very, very true.
So how did you Tam, communication is
Tam,
valued.
was communication valued in your family? No. Wait. No. No. Nobody talked to anybody in the
Well,
house.
that's a great point. How maybe our rearing maybe affected how we entered relationships, right? Communicated in our relationships. Um, for
That's what
me,
the, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead, love. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's what the counselor was saying. She was like, "Well, how did you and your dad communicate?" I said, "We didn't. Like, she's president of the house." And so my mom, she tried to be there for emotionally, but she has her traumas that she don't want to face, and that she really needs to deal with, but she hasn't. And so she did the best she could with her communication, and
Yeah.
hers is basically a on or off. It's no kind of no gray. My mom is very kind of black and white, which you kind of see that with my brother, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of, it's this or this. There's no kind of gray.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say about how you communicate in your family? We're extensions of our family. Yes.
People always ask me, like when I was telling you about the caliber of men, or just kind of the emotional and mental abuse that I've allowed in my past relationships, how? And I remember somebody told me, like, I would have never done that because I had uncles and homeboys, and they, like, 20 of them would be at barbecues, and they would school me on what to look for. And I never thought that, right? I thought everybody would be my father. I thought I am probably, out of all my siblings, um, I probably act more like my father. I act like my mother in regards to free spirit, but my father is a very, like, forgiving, giving man. He's a very, like, anything, I'll do anything for you. I mean, he shows up if we ask. There ain't no why, how, when. I'm there. So I
Yeah.
thought all men were gonna be like that. So I gave love like my father did to my mother to men, and it got stepped on every time. That I think slowly, now that I'm in my 30s, I don't even love like that anymore. I don't love as freely as I did in my early 20s. And I think I get so upset, and I haven't even told John that I gave it to the wrong people. So I have to stop being angry at myself, right? That I wasted so much love and time, because John's you had to make these decisions, the right decisions. And me, I'm like, well, my wrong decisions finally made me get the decision. So we can all make different paths and get to the end result. But really, it takes a toll on you,
Yeah.
because them soul ties, honey, they're a burden on you. But I mean, luckily, I love that I can talk about that. So when other people ask, I can be like, okay, this is this. But I will say that's what I experienced growing up, was that I thought you could love someone and they would just receive it. I didn't realize they would take it and never give anything back to you. So that was really, really hard to work through.
Ours was a very opposite. So Valerie said, yes, our families are a connection we hold a huge factor in how we see ourselves and how we walk in life. Yes, my mother's approach was everybody was evil and stay away, and people were going to take advantage of you. And I think that's why it's I feel like my dad was just kind of off to the side. So it's like the one person I felt like I really kind of opened up to, my ex-husband, and we were very immature basically. When we got married, we were in our early mid-20s. And so when that happened, is like, I felt like, one, I had a failed marriage, and then I opened myself up to somebody who let me down, who didn't do my expectations. And then and I think I had certain expectations for my fathers that I didn't get either. So I think that kind of perpetuated me just shutting down completely, because it's like, I can do it myself. Like, nobody has to do anything for me. I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out. I will kill myself because I will make it happen. That was my thing. I will make it happen. And look, this is what I got. Make it happen.
Got a sign, girl.
That was my thing. And it's not healthy because, and so my husband has.
Do you feel like, though, post-divorce, your expectations are even higher for your second husband, even though we didn't even require that from our first? Like, girl, I would have built a hut from some sticks out of mud for my ex-husband, right? Before John. But hold on, just let me get this disclaimer. John presented me. Your mama did a great job teaching that man how to court and treat a woman emotionally and mentally. I mean, he gives all kudos to your mother. And like, my mother just told me to do this and this and this. So it set my expectations high. I wasn't looking for it. If you would have asked me, give me a list of what you're looking for in a man, girl, I had not one. I mean, I was like,
but the list changes. You better tell mommy, because she gonna
list changes. But all I thought about was honestly, like, let him go half on the rent with me. Drug of choice was, I mean, I was stigmatized a lot of times. I know that's, everybody's like, oh my God, it's a real thing, manifestation of the soul. And maybe it's a plus if you like say hi to my kids. Like, I wasn't mentally prepared to receive a great man. I was wanting the bare minimum.
And I think that's a huge key. You have to be mentally prepared. And I don't think we are. And so Valerie said first had know how this feels. Firsthand, she was trying to say. Maybe a 5-star hotel.
Girl, we stopped at a Red Roof Inn. I'm like, it's cool. We're gonna just sleep there for 6 hours. It's fine. Like, I'm a gully. Like, I'm gonna literally do whatever I can do to scrape by and us make it. And
you going on with Chris?
John's like, why? We have Hilton points. What are you talking about? My sheets are a certain grade, and I'm like,
but you know what? That's from struggling as a single mom. That's what that is. So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna struggle. Don was the same way, because I would be like, he'd be like, no, what is it that you really want? But I'm like, look, this, we can get this right now for the. He's like, or like, we'll go out to eat and my order's not right or whatever, and I was like, oh, it's okay. He's like, no, if that's not what, no, it's okay. It's okay. No, but he's like, I think my view changed also. Like, when you're in your 20s, period. When you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, like, I want somebody that a lot of times, and it's reporting, looking at videos, music videos, well, oh, we got to have a lot of money, or he got to be super fine. And like now it's like, especially when you're a single mom, it's like, how's he gonna treat my kids? What is he gonna? What kind of upbringing is he gonna contribute to my kids? Because I'm expecting him to come home every night. Like, I need him to come home every night.
See, I wish I would have been thinking like that. I wasn't thinking that way.
I had got to that point, I guess, when I was starting to date, but the first guy that I dated was not giving me any of that, and then it's like, I held on in the back of my head, knowing it was not going to work, but it was just, someone that can, I mean, because he helped me out with some of the stuff. He just definitely was not right for me. So I'm like,
see, I was on plentyoffishandmatch.com, honey, and I was going on dates because I felt like I needed to get my feet wet. Again, categories. I'm a level person. There were the categories for the men with the movies, categories with the men that I knew were going to take me to good restaurants, and the categories of men that I thought I had feelings for and that I wanted relationships with. And I remember John, how I probably should have known he was a good guy. We were just friends, and he was just like, "Can you stop calling them and just call me when you want to go to the movies? Like, that's just $6 for a ticket. Like, you really want like to waste your time with that negative energy? Just call me." That's how it really, really started. And I thought I was asking a lot for a $6 ticket. I dated a guy right after my divorce. I remember my former mother-in-law telling me, just give it to God. And I didn't listen to her, right? She said, I just really want you, sweetie, to just give it to God and heal. Pour into your children. And I didn't pour into them. I really didn't. I mean, I took care of them, but I didn't like heal during that process. It took me like an additional 4 years. You know, they tell you 25%. You need 25% of the time that you were with someone to get over them. And so I kept delaying that healing process. I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time because I think it's really, if someone tells you to just let go, let God. Let go, let God is so hard. I mean, I'm a Christian and I love God. That is the hardest thing.
And then you're young too. Like when you're young, your mindset is not let go and think of God. I'm sorry. 24, 25, most of us are not saying, okay, yes, I'm going to let go. No, that's not what we're thinking about. We're thinking about how we're going to get out, may go to a club and go try to whatever. That is far from our, I'm not saying it's bad advice, but at that time you're not thinking about that, and it makes it extra hard because you're not thinking about that. And so,
even when I was on those dating sites, though, I wasn't looking for a husband. These men were looking for wives, and they were trying to wife me, girlfriend me, and I was like, I just want to date.
You were lucky, because when I went on after the other guy, the guy before my now husband. When I went and I was recommended to go on the dating website, had never thought about I was gonna do that, and I'm like, how in the world? My mom was like, Tamara, they gonna kill you, they gonna rape you and kill you. So I'm like, oh Lord. But anyway, so I went on the dating site, and these men were terrible. I went on a couple
all the time.
These guys were like taking pictures with their phones with the wedding band on. And I'm like, if I get one more bathroom picture, and I'm like, so this lady
with the toilet in the background, girl. Don't tell me with the toilet in the
back. And they're half the time they're in a public stall. So you get half the time they're in their home, the other half they're in a public stall. It's like, really? And it's like, I have heard and the lady who told me to go to these websites, she was like, look, you go come across some scallywags. And I was like, okay, all right. Fine. So I'm trying to pick him out. I don't know nothing about it. The lady I was working with, she was like, this is what you do. You go to their pitch. She's like, look, he says this, but look at this in the background. He lying. Go to the next one. I said, oh. Anyway. So Facebook user, you have to get permission so we can see who you are.
So how hard was it for you I'm trying to think of the word, to allow Dom to lead as well as to form a relationship with your daughter?
So it was probably easier for me to have her form a relationship with her, for Dom to form a relationship with her, versus for him to lead. I've had to lead the whole time. So for me to step back and let him lead. And the great part is, because he's always big on, the Bible says that the man is the head of household. And I told him, I said, we fight about this all the time. So you need to stop saying that, because when you say head of the household, most people, especially in the millennial generation and our generation, they're thinking of control. And I said, that is by far not what you mean, because that's not even how you run the house. Like, everything we communicate together and we pick out together. It took us 3 years to pick out a picture to go on our wall. So
y'all, that must be y'all. I mean, because John's the same way, and I'm like, what? But again, I have military stint. Like, so we had to get things done, right? Everything needed to be hung, the walls need to be painted, everything needed to be done within a week. So when John was like, no, it could take 5 years, I was like, 5 years? Like, what are you talking about? But
Well, I wouldn't want to take that long, but this how long it, because we had to agree on a picture. So, but it was important because her Brianna's dad wasn't as active in her life as I wanted, and I wanted her to have a man, a positive man in her life, and I wanted her to see what a loving relationship looked like. I want her to see the affection and all that. And so it's very uncomfortable for her. Like Brianna just started telling me she loved me probably in the past year. Like she couldn't even get those words
really,
out because of hello, she got a mama that don't show feelings. So she
okay,
was
but so you said you don't show feelings, emotionally, but I was thinking you still verbalized it. So you didn't verbalize it?
no, I told her I love her. She could not tell it back. I probably was probably me and my
Ah.
mom were probably the only two people that told her consistently that they love her. That's it. She said,
So,
I'm not thinking about
so
family.
when you stated about the leader, so there's this amazing guy, I forget his name, on Instagram, and he made the amazing point. He was like, how I view leading a household. He was like, we can talk about this round, round and round all you want. He said, to me, leading is also knowing when not to lead, when to allow your wife to lead, right? Because that is leadership. You're allowing yourself to step to the side and allow her strengths to shine. So then
Mhm,
eventually you can come and then step back in. He said
mhm,
knowing when and how to do that is very, very important for a leader. And he was like, and so he gave the example of like a lawyer making 125,000, 150,000 a year. And if he still he's not right in line, well, then he needs to like support and love his wife in this season until it reverses back to him. And so just knowing that, I feel like that's what I was fearful of. I was fearful that I was going to meet someone that was like, this is this way. Your sons will do this. And I struggled with that because, again, I'm blessed with a village and my son's house. I was telling John that today because he was like, what are you going to talk about tonight? And I was like, stuff I've already told you. But I just told him, I told him I was going to bring up the kind of struggling with not naturally like having this father role, like, right, like the trophy of you're my father. I said,
mhm,
but what a blessing that my children have so many role models that are men. Their grandfather, their uncles, and John, like they love John. They really do.
mhm.
They ask about him. Like he was gone down to see your parents. He was like, when John coming back? I told him I was gonna leave and move. And he was like, okay, well, I'm staying with John. Right? Like I know John doesn't, because John is very literal. So he doesn't hear
Yes,
you're my
very
father.
little.
Right? But in my mind, I'm like, boys in general do not share emotions. The fact that they ask about you and they, like my youngest, brags on John. John's my best friend. He's the only one I can talk to. John would stay in the room. He tells his grandmother, I would just stay up all night and Mr. John would be in the room and talk to me until I fell asleep. That's huge emotionally for a boy. I said, they love you. I know they're not verbalizing it, but they really do. And so I think when John finally realized that, it made him feel a little bit better, but I know it's going to be a lot different. I'm scared. I don't know how you felt with having Zoe. I was a little nervous. I'm a lot better now, but I was a little nervous about having a second round of children. I have a 15-year-old and 2-year-old girl. When we about to pop these other children out, I was afraid of how we were going to implement the closeness. I don't know if you were fearful of that.
Well, by the time we had all these miscarriages and Zoe came along, that was like the least of our worries. We were just like, Lord, just please let us not have another miscarriage. Um, Brianna was more worried about that, because Brianna was 17 when I had her. So she was like, I'm gonna miss her and I'm not gonna know her, she's not gonna know me. I was like, your relationship will be what you make of it. I said, if you put in the effort to know her, then she will remember you and she will know you. And Brianna has come home from college almost every weekend and she loves her sister. Zoe loves her big sister. So
Yeah.
That's good, but they have a relationship. They both feel like the other person doesn't like them, but and it's because their communication and expression is very different.
You
And
think it
so,
also because they're boy and girl, like gender? Do you think gender has a place to it too?
well, I think it's more of culturally. Like Dom is more of affection and an open display of his emotions, and if he wants something, he just asks. And she is very guarded of her emotions, like very very guarded. She's not going to express her. I probably she probably I probably get the most expression out of her than anybody. So those couple of times that she has asked him to go somewhere, and I said that's because she likes you. I said because otherwise she wouldn't be asking at all.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. It's a slower process with them, and I think it's because of the hurt she has to deal with, and the very guarded and the lack of understanding of each other's emotions. But it
Is
was
she
very
going?
important. Hmm?
Have you stressed the importance of therapy earlier on versus waiting later for her?
I didn't start going to therapists on a regular basis until
I know, right? Like, I mean, now, granted, I've been going to therapy since I was 10. Not necessarily but it was just I grew up in a household, right? We talked about medications, we talked about mental health, and we talked about therapy.
no,
That's
it
it
was
in every
there.
household.
We growing up, we didn't talk about mental health. There was not mental health. You either use crazy or not. That was it. But she has gone to counseling a few times with another person and very guarded, didn't really talk to the counselor.
Yeah.
So when I started going to this counselor, I eventually convinced her to go, and so she started going. So but she's in college now, so she can't get to her, and God knows
Yeah.
she's not gonna do online stuff. You
Yeah.
can come up, Don. We're talking about
Hi, Don.
yeah, we're talking about singles.
All right, y'all do your singles.
Well, maybe you can admit how was it when before you married me? Like, what is some of the thought process being that you were coming in as a
I was just newly that way. So.
huh?
I was newly that way, so y'all talk.
So you know what what I was thinking about when you mentioned Don versus John too. They come definitely from a different perspective, right? Don was
Ebony, I
married.
have thought about doing family therapy. I'm listening.
Oh no, you're fine. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Ebony. She is very guarded. She is very choosy when she talk. We have tried counselors and we finally got the one. So she has been to about a few. But all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just thinking about like the difference is even of experiences, right? I will say I doubted John a lot, right? Like, you don't know how to take care of my kids, but honey, when I went on TDY, they were alive when I got home and they were so happy and fed. He made a way. I don't know how. And I still doubted him, right? Because you know how he is about babies. But in the last year, he's definitely blossomed with being more hands-on with little ones. But the difference with Dom, you dating Dom, is he was previously married and he had a child, right? So I don't know if that gave you a little bit more confidence that he at least, or maybe fearful because, right, we have doubts like, well, you were married once, what'd you do wrong? Not saying you did anything wrong, but I mean, some people, just because they've been married and have children don't mean they know what they're doing. But I know that was one of my fears with John never being married, never having children. How is he going to adapt to a single mother? And what were his expectations going to be of me? Girl, he wanted 5 children. I told him not out this body. I was like, you want to find you a young buck, or we're going to have to get a professional side chick to live in with us and help us cook and clean.
Professional side chick. Well, I have to tell y'all the full story about me and Dom getting together, and so you can understand some of the stuff that we went through. So like I said, we met online on Plenty of Fish of all things. And I told Dom, I said, I guess it was really meant to be. So I was weeding out people because if they said separated, I was like, I ain't dealing with you because you married and you ain't trying to get a divorce and I'm just gonna be your side woman. And that's not happening. Anyway, so he had on his page separated, but his friend told him because he was he was going through the divorce. He was already filing the papers and everything. He had already got his own place and everything. So but his friend said, you're not going to find anybody like that. You need to change it to divorce. So I swear that's probably when I saw his page. He said he switched it to that, but he was like, that's not honest. So he switched it back. Obviously, I didn't see that. So he had messaged me and said, hey, whenever you're free, you get a chance, here's my number. You can call me. So I called him like 5 a.m. So I can, right before I was going to work, so I can be sure that he wasn't laying next to another woman. So he answered the phone. I was like, oh, great. And he was like, oh, I'm usually working out, but hey, didn't go today. I'm walking the dog. So we started our conversation there. So I was in the school for my doctorate degree, and I was working on a paper because he said we were going to meet. He said, oh, do you want to go to this play with me? It's in Fort Worth. So people that know Dallas and Fort Worth, that's a good ride away with somebody you don't know. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll go. Then I got the phone and I said, I have lost my mind. Like, I don't know this man from Adam. So I called him back and I was like, no, I don't think that's going to work. He's like, okay, whatever's going to work for you, let's do it. I said, okay. He said, how about we go meet at a restaurant? Fine, we'll meet at a restaurant. I had an assignment due. My computer crashed the day I was supposed to meet at the restaurant. And I was like, look, I got to go to Apple store. Can you meet me at the Apple store? And he comes in the Apple store. Happens so that we're matching. No conversation, anything. We're happen to so be matching. And we just clicked like we known each other. He pulled up the divorce papers so I could see that he actually has filed for divorce. He was going through the divorce. I was like, oh, okay, good. All right. And we're in the Apple store. He pays for my the part for my computer, and then we go out to eat. We're having a conversation, and I'm boohoo crying because he wants to talk about emotions and feelings and all that kind of stuff. So he's like pulling all this emotion and stuff that I don't want to talk about, and I'm like boohoo crying. He was like, "That's all right. I'm gonna take care of you." And I was like, "This man, anyway." So we just kept going. We just kept dating, and like conversation was good. And I was like, is this really going anywhere? I knew his mom lived in the area, and I knew his daughter lived in the area. And I was like, okay. I said, I want to meet your mom and your daughter. He was like, oh, okay. No, I forgot. On our second date, we went somewhere. It was the second or third date, and I went to his house. So I told my friend, I was like, this is the correct spelling of his name. This is his car that he drives. This is his license plate. I said, so if anything happens to me, if I don't call you by this time, then you need to call the police. And this is his address because this is where I'm going. So I was like, I had to try to make sure that I was gonna be saying, I don't know him. So anyway, so I ended up, he was like, oh, I also did a background check on him too.
Don't let him lie, y'all.
No, I did. I did a background check.
She was all about him.
I did a background check, and he says, and I was like, he was like, I said, I need the correct spelling of your name. He's like, why? And I was like, he said, are you doing a background check? I said, yes. Yeah, I did. And then so I pulled the background check, and I was like, who is this such and such, different last name, lady's name? He was like, oh, you found her, huh? And I was like, well, who is it? He was like, that's my mom. I was like, anyway, I made it a criteria. I wanted to meet his mom and his daughter. I wanted to see how they were going to interact, especially since I had a girl. Very loving family, and the rest is history. And we dated and got married, 10 months later.
Girl, when you told me that story, but even when John said it, I've been like,
oh, wow.
I did therapy. Yes, definitely. You're right. I think doing therapy with your parents is eye-opening and helps you in your future relationships. What was I going to say? What was my thought? What was I talking about?
John, when I talked about us getting married in 10 months.
Girl, I was like, so why are it taking you so long? Like, it blew my mind because your mom got married after you got married after 10 months. I was like, but again, everything happened the way it did. It needed to.
But how long did it take John to buy a car?
It took Girl, I didn't know this till I got with him. And then his friends kept saying, do you know he searched for like a car for 5 years? I was like,
yep. And it happened even longer.
So again, I guess I came out on
I need
top
to stay
because
place to
he
tell
was
my
looking
mom
for a
how
wife
she
for quite
hurt
some
me.
time. I need to stay place to tell my mom how she hurt me and affected me. Therapy gave me a voice. Definitely.
Yeah,
Therapy does give you a voice. And I think being able to be honest with
I do.
people.
Ebony, yes, I do. I see a black therapist, black female.
So what would you tell your single friends or people that have children, don't have children, that are looking for their future husband, but specifically I think single moms? Like, what advice would you give them?
One, have realistic expectations. Two, a person who is going to show you who they are, don't try to change it. Meaning that if they're showing that they're gonna maybe have a whole bunch of women or whatever, don't think, oh, it's just because, don't give them excuses. Like, this is what it is. People are going to present who they are, and that's who they are. Is that something that you can deal with? If that's something you want to deal with, but you have to be truthful. Like, I need my husband home every night. So I can't date an athlete or an actor or anything like that where they're gone for months at a time. That would drive me absolutely crazy. So that's the realization. Like, that's what. So you have to be real with yourself on your expectation and do background checks. Anybody dating out here, because people are crazy. People are crazy. Like, do a
So my
background check.
friend tells me that I never did a background check. Now, granted, I could convince a gully dude to give me their social. I mean, they had no reservations because I would never do anything bad with their social, but I never did background checks, and I never made lists. Like, I really didn't. I would tell people to really. I don't even know if making lists are honestly even helpful, because John was not on my list and I was not on John's. I think I tell all my friends, and it never fails, like, look for the people you never look for, that are polar opposite of you, because I think we get so stuck on, like, one of my friends, he got to be built, he got to be in the gym, he got to
But
have
see,
a
to me,
CEO, certain
that's not
income.
realistic, because you get somebody that's built. Okay, y'all 30. When he's 60, is he still gonna be built? I mean, he may or may not. Like, so, like, are you truly in love with the person, or you love with their body? Like, you have to love that person, because in
Yeah.
order to truly love a person outside of whatever they may look like no matter what happens, the ups and downs, because marriages are gonna be ups and downs, it's gonna be work. You will be with them for them, not for, oh, because he got muscles or because he got big feet or whatever you want to say. Like,
It's so
like you,
shocking too when I tell people, like, when they know how John has treated me. I can date that money.
she just said I
Okay.
can take the
I mean,
money.
again, like, I don't have to. I didn't look for money. I didn't look for money. So that, as Ebony knows, God, if you just knew my let's see,
Yep.
because of her trauma, she didn't know how to love and love.
Yeah.
A
After
lot of
we went,
healing individually together. We are so much closer now. I'm thankful for that. Yeah, no, definitely. I think
and I think
I would tell people, love yourself first. Right? Really learn who you are and really love yourself before getting a relationship. Because when I was
a
going through
lot of
there,
people don't realize that their trauma, like, because they're not thinking about it, they're not realizing that trauma is still affecting them. Because I can tell, I mean, I even told my counselor the other day, because she was like, well, one of your traumas, he said, are you still affected by it? And I was like, no. But it's like, realistically, and she don't argue with me. She just said, okay. And she started talking about it, because she helps me realize stuff myself. So she just, she keeps moving on. But it's like the realization, like, even back to high school, all those traumas, I'm still dealing with. And it does affect your relationship, how you treat and how you present yourself to, hello, like, I shut down, like, I don't want to talk about my feelings. So
I vomit my emotions on everybody. Like, when John knows when I go, he's like, are you done? Is that on? I'm like, I'm fine now. And he's like, okay. But
at least you're getting it out. That probably helps versus me carrying it and snapping on everybody.
I mean, it does, but I will also say, from my friends and from people
Oh,
that
wait.
I know.
I just realized what Valerie said. He can pick me up from 30 to 60. So
I mean,
she said
John's open
muscles
to that for
matter.
sure. Muscles do matter. But people are in awe when I tell people, like, John loves me for me, right? And they're like, oh, a man for real, like, loves you for that. And I didn't know how rare that was. Like, John loves me big or small. I've been super small. I've been big. And he just loves who I am. Like the other day, girl, my hair was all over my head. I had a muumuu on and some slippers and some basketball shorts. He was like, "You look so beautiful." And I was like, he's like, "I just wish you saw what I saw." And so in saying
Because
that,
he loves you and sees you for you.
he
He sees.
does. But I think people think, like you said, it's supposed to be packaged a certain way. And it's not even a
No, because
feeling.
how many times you heard like men want some girl? Well, hello, we just talked about people we getting the titties, the booties, and
Well, I
the
think too, when
lips.
you've been emotionally abused and someone continues, I mean, I've been with men who said, "I wish you were skinny," to men that said, "I wish you were big. You're not thick enough. You're not ghetto enough. You're not urban enough. You're not white enough. You're not exotic enough." Like, I've been through it. And so to finally meet someone that was like, "You're just right," blew my mind. But I don't think a lot of single women, especially single mothers, um, feel like anyone will ever love them that way.
No,
And I am here to say they will, but also
you have to love
it
yourself.
might not come packaged. You know that saying that says God will show you what he wants for you, and it ain't what you want, but it's what he knows is for you. Like, really take a step back and receive what God has for you and put in the
Because
work.
you really, like you said, you just never know. I mean, I wasn't expect. I mean, you know, John, my husband is the first man that's white that I've ever had a relationship with, and that's who I married. Like, I would have never, never thought. Ebony said, honey, she also needs to be able to roll over and look at her man in the morning. I understand that. Not saying that you have to
He ain't gotta
have,
be the finest, but he gotta be like,
right. Like, I can understand, like, you don't want anybody that's going to make you vomit in your mouth, like, when you see them. Like, but
I've
because you
had
got to
that
be able to
too.
kiss them.
Mm.
Like, so, but, everybody can't be Idris Elba. Just saying.
God, he
Or Mr.
fine.
Andre 3000.
Just playing, laughing out loud. Yeah. Yeah, no, but yeah, that's what I would tell. So single mommies on here, or people that are trying to find a husband, one, be very clear of what you're asking God for, because two, I think we receive things that we ask God for, but we weren't clear, right, of what we asked for. So then we want to complain of what we finally received. That's 80% of what we wanted, because we're a very entitled, selfish society, right? So we always going to want more. We could have an 80-20. We're always going to want more. And again, I think that's why therapy is important, and continuous healing in self and in relationship is healthy, because I want more because
Definitely.
I lack something in myself at times, I think. So then I put that on my relationship. Well, what is that lacking? And could we have this and da. So self-love, a lot of prayer, honey, and a lot of therapy and wine. I'm empty and I'm about to get a refill. So yeah, I am not promoting alcohol, people being addicted or anything, but having a nice bottle of wine before you go to bed every now and then is okay.
That's her commercial. Yeah, I think working on yourself has to be first.
Yes.
And you have to also, as single moms, our whole life is dedicated to our children, but you can't have a relationship where you neglect that person and it's all about your children, but you can't, you know, neglect your children and make it all about that person. You have to find that balance to balance all of that, because understand your children are going to grow up and going to move out, and so, but your children have to be taken care of. So I think that's important too. So definitely take care of yourself. My mom always used to tell me, girl, you got to fix up, because I didn't care, because it was like, let me throw on some sweats and t-shirt, or put on my scrubs again and call it a day, because I got to go run over here and do this and run over here and do that. So you got to find a way to take care of yourself in that.
Amen.
So,
Girl.
All right. I think this was another good chat.
It was. Thank y'all for chiming in.
Yes. Please be on lookout. We're going to have a competition that's going to happen. I'm going to post it on this page, on the Facebook page. It's okay with Tam Tam. So be on the lookout for that. And our next session will be, instead of Tuesday, it will be on Halloween, because we're going to be talking about Halloween, and that is Veronica's favorite holiday. And I got my costume.
Yay! Oh my God, you're dressing up?
Yeah, I dressed up last year.
Okay. I'm
excited. But I had to make sure I got it this time too, because I had to make sure, because you said you wanted me to dress up. I won't be as fabulous as you, but I will have on a costume.
I love it. I love it. And what I do like, what y'all should do, and I know Tam's going to explain more of like kind of what we're going to go do about that. But what the topic is it's not just about Halloween. It's about like the cultural difference, right? Did you celebrate it? Did you not? What does Halloween mean? What do you do? So it's going to be like
so that's going to be our topic, what we're going to talk about on the 31st, Halloween. We're going to be here at our same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Sorry. Yes. We will be talking about Halloween, to celebrate or to not. So we're going to, like she said, we're going to talk about all the cultural differences and all the stuff kind of we did growing up, and kind of your expectations of going on and why things happen. But we'll have a competition. Like I say, I'm going to post it, so be on the lookout for that. I'm sure Veronica will share it as well. So
you're going to have to post it and post a picture, like it, and isn't it like, share, and then post a picture of Halloween. We're going to do a vote, and you can win a gift card that night.
Yeah. We're going to do a vote, or we're going to do like the name draw.
Yeah. Name draw. But they have to post and like in order to be included in the name draw.
Yes. You have to post and like in order to be included in the name draw. So I wish everybody good luck. I hope everybody have a good weekend and a good week. And we will see you Halloween.
Yes.